Welcome everyone to another episode of What Now. Hope everyone is doing well, and hope you're ready for this next guest that I have today, which should be very, very interesting industry-wise. And I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with him. His name is Jason Hadshian, aka J Hatch, and yes, definitely. Rest in peace, DJ Precise. Gotta shout him out. Found out that he passed away yesterday, and very sad and all. I'm happy to announce that there'll probably be a memorial party service in the venue that I am part of. So for those who know him, that will be something that will be organized this week. But as I was saying, my guest today, very special guest, industry mogul, so to speak. And I see that he's already in here, so I'm just going to get him in here and introduce him. Thank you all for joining. I hope everyone is safe and healthy out there with this corona stuff still going on. And we're waiting for him to come in. He's a very interesting guy. I've been reading his book. He published a book. Hey, what's up?
Hey,
how are you?
good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you okay. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I was just saying about you that you wrote the book.
Okay.
And I actually have it here.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the support.
Yes, and it's very funny because for the people that are tuned in, Jay Hatch reached out to me on Instagram because of the talk that I had with producer Amadeus.
Yep.
And it was initially about your new platform, Creator Plug. And I was like, okay, who's this guy? Let me look him up. And I'm like, oh shit, I bought his book.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, to me that was amazing because I can't remember how I got to your book. I think I saw somebody posting about it, and I was like, okay, let me get this and see what this is about. And it's a really good read.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what I like about the book is it's very it's easy read and it gets to the point. I'm hearing feedback from myself, so I'm not sure if that's something you can change, but I'm getting feedback.
I don't hear your feedback. I don't hear mine either. I'm gonna try to call back in real fast.
Yeah, maybe that will work.
Okay. I'll try that back in.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
All right. People are still coming in, so yeah, I'm trying to see if there's feedback everywhere. So let's see if this will work. But yeah, the book that he wrote is definitely recommended for anybody who's trying to do something in the music industry. Doesn't matter if you're an artist or industry person. Get this book, How I Left My Job and Made It in the Music Industry. So yes, it's a really thin book. It's easy to read, like I said. It gets to the point, and he actually has a lot of pages in there that you can make notes about your own situation, and that helps you build. So let me see how this goes. We'll just see how it goes.
Okay.
I'm hearing a little feedback, but that's fine. We'll make it work. So what I was saying is, this book that you wrote is literally everything people need. It's so easy to read. You have the pages for the notes, and you basically cover everything in the book that people should know about the industry, whether you're an artist or an industry person. So I'm now promoting the book. People get this. It takes you maybe an hour to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
If you're dedicated. And I was very happy with it. And it was an interesting story as well, because you go by it by chapter and basically off of your own experiences. So it's very easy to make that translation to what it could do for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because I never thought I was ever going to write a book. I was dating someone at the time, and they were always saying to me, like, why don't you try to figure out ways to, affect people, but not actually have to be there to do it, So I wrote this book. What I would do is every time I got on a flight somewhere to a different city, I would just pop open my Google document and start typing away. My intro was like 13 pages long at one point. I just didn't know how to break it down into, making sense. And that was my biggest concern, is that people read it and can somehow relate to it in one way or another, saying like, oh, like well, I went through that when I left my job, or okay, so that's something to watch out for when I do leave my job. I know not to do that now. And I have all these different mantras and sayings, so I started to outline what those were, and I'd copy and paste parts of the story that I felt fit in those spaces. And then little by little, it started to come together. And my editor was really impressed with the fact that this was my first book, because I wrote it in such a way that she was like, almost like, you really don't even need to do much more. Like put a little more, maybe a little more emotion or a little more vulnerability in there. And I was like, all right, I can do that. And that's pretty much what happened, you know?
Honestly, it's probably one of the top 3 best industry books that I've read, because it's easy to read and because it gets to the point. Because, you know, people write these whole like novels about stuff, and it still gives me the insight on how you did it. It's still your personal story, which is applicable to anybody who is trying to do something or leave their jobs. And for me, by the time I picked up your book, I also didn't have a job, and I was also already like making it in the music industry. So it really helped me get that boost. Like, okay. And I have to say the title was probably the thing that got me to really get interested. So that was very smart.
And the funny thing about the title is, you know, when I say I made it in the music industry, I don't necessarily mean I'm rich or super wealthy, but I made it to the point where I never had to turn backwards and work, you know, for somebody else. And this is February will be my 20th year being self-employed, and it's all, you know, self reinvestment, you know, self-presented. Like, everything I've done has come from me, my relationships, and the way I've kind of maneuvered through the industry. So, you know, everybody has a different story, but I felt like my story could help people understand how they could find out what their story would be if they decided to actually leave their job. And I've gotten a lot of great praise, and I'm in the process of writing my next book. It's called My Process, and it's just really talking about a lot of the step-by-step things that I talk about in the book, about how I did these things, where maybe somebody might look at it and go, wow, this would probably take me forever to do. But in my case, it's like I had this process-driven mindset where I know my next 4 or 5 steps before I even start my first. So I'll be doing my first, but I'll see, like, it's weird. Like, I was like, with the Matrix, you know, I see my next 4, you know, the green, you know, letters coming down the screen. So yeah.
Well, that's actually a skill to have, because people sometimes don't even know what their first step is, let alone see the next ones. It's kind of like playing chess. You gotta, you know, look at the steps ahead. I want to go a little bit deeper into that after I first properly thank you for being here and for wanting to be my guest. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for writing the book, so I knew who you were. COVID-19. Are you currently in New York?
Yes, I'm in the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
So, where at one point we were pretty much the epicenter of everything.
Right. And so one of the reasons I started to talk was to give people some motivation and inspiration, because everything got shut down. Now, okay, over here it's pretty much opening up already. We're not doing so bad, especially compared to the United States. We're doing actually really good. But people have told me, hey, it's so inspiring, it's so motivating, please keep doing your talks. So I probably will, because it is very interesting to talk to people and hear their stories. What has been the biggest impact for you personally and business-wise when Corona hit?
Well, it's interesting because I left my own company back in March, right in the middle of March. My company, iStandard, I decided to hand it over to my business partner due to, you know, certain technical difficulties within our relationship and just mindset. So, you know, here I am starting my own brand again after 20 years of work, or 19 years working with another brand. And I decided to, you know, do this in the middle of a pandemic, or before I even knew it was going to be a pandemic. So it was a lot of adjusting, you know, it was a lot of like adjusting my mindset, identifying like what skills I can monetize. I also started something similar called Success Symbols, where I would speak to various creators and entrepreneurs about, you know, what they did to get to where they are, and really did it to really make sure that people stayed inspired, informed, motivated in tough times, you know, because obviously right now it was very easy for a lot of people to just kind of say, you know, I'm done. I need a break, or I need to focus on my mental health, which is another whole thing, you know, a whole conversation there. But that's mental. Professionally, it definitely changed everything. And from then, I just took a lot of what I was doing prior and put it into the online format. And that's where I kind of came up with, I released a clothing line called Mogul Status. I started this new brand, the Creator Plug, which will officially launch next month. And started writing my next book, all while still doing online events for producers, creators,
Right.
entrepreneurs. So personally, I've just been super safe, trying to remain sane, being in the house as long. The last 2 weeks, actually last 2 months, we've been really good here in New York. So I ventured out this past Saturday for my first actual night out under the COVID, quarantine. So I went out, had a couple of drinks with some friends and family, stayed out late like I would normally if I was going out, and was just careful, just safe. So I went to Boston 2 weeks ago to do my first creative session, like a big writing camp that I do, which I just did half the size. We just did everything safe by the book, social distance, masks, sanitizer, wipes, sprays, all that. And I think it's just a matter of being able to use this time to find out ways to continue somewhat of a normalcy, but at the same time understanding that things will never be normal again.
Right.
And finding that balance, you know what I mean? So I think I've done a really good job. I started a mentorship program as well, where I have 6 different mentees that we do weekly calls and just kind of go through what their goals and aspirations are. And every week we try to get closer and closer. So, yeah, I mean,
staying busy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to go outside more, but at the same time, I'm okay. I paid off 4 credit cards. I've, just ate great, lost some weight, feel good. So, I'm trying to stay focused. That's all.
I hear that from a lot of people, as far as the real diets and the real physical and mental health are now suddenly prioritized because of the time. And one of the challenges is when things open up again, to keep that as part of your new normal. Keep those diets going. 'Cause I'm slacking already. We're opening up and I'm already eating worse, and I'm already the gym opened up, so I'm actually going to the gym again. But I've noticed that my old habits are seeping in again, and I'm like, okay, no, I was doing so good during this pandemic. But yeah, that's something that we all have to struggle with, obviously. It's interesting that you said that you left iStandard, because I wasn't really aware of that, but I also didn't see it anywhere anymore. So that's why I didn't put it in there in the little text.
Yeah.
And I also left this company in March and had to start something new.
Right.
Not as long as you have worked on iStandard, but for me it was crazy to do that in the pandemic as well. But it also felt like I'm leaving something negative behind and starting something new, differences with partners, etc. So yeah, so that's very relatable to me as well. It's good to see you're still busy. You're doing, in my opinion, still a lot, which is inspiring, especially since things are shut down. I've seen your stories and your little promo about the writing camps with everybody with masks on. I really applaud that, because I also see a lot of people that don't do that. And so I think that's commendable of you.
Thank you.
Going back a little bit to your book, I do have to tell you, I bought your book when it came out. I read it, and then I lent it out to somebody. Never got it back, so I actually bought another copy.
Oh man, okay, thank you.
And then what's funny is a friend of mine, I told him this story, so he bought the book as well. And then he bought me a copy because he didn't know I ordered another. So I got 2 of them now. So I'm going to give one away again. So
yeah, paid forward, right?
Yeah, a couple of your sales are thanks to me. But yeah, I really wanted to have it. I can't remember who I lent it out to, and then people borrow stuff and don't give it back. But I'm like, okay.
All the time,
yeah. The way you started, you've always been an entrepreneur before you hit the music industry already. A lot of relatable things, the parents that want you to do the regular stuff. Music industry is never something that a parent applauds, at least not from our generation. How can you tell us a little bit how you made that shift in short? People, if you want to know the detailed version, buy the book.
Right, right. It's crazy because, I was working for this company called Arrow Postal, clothing line out here in the States. And I started off working there, sales associate, part-time, and I ended up in 8 years getting promoted to every level you could possibly be promoted at. And went from making like $7 an hour to making six figures a year plus bonuses. I was managing 18 stores. The company was super supportive of what I was doing. I had a lot of access to the company. They gave me a great stock option. I, opened like 20 additional stores for them throughout the company, helped the company grow. I had the company store. I had the highest volume store. I had the chairman's store. And I still managed 18 different stores, and I had to go out and open stores. So all this was maintained while I was out, because that's one of my strongest points is my organizational skills, communicatory skills, as well as just being super professional and prepared, etc. So they, allowed me to do more than just and I've always done more. But I woke up one day, my father had passed away, and, I just kind of woke up like a couple weeks afterwards, and I was just like, I don't really love doing this. Like, right. I like it. I'm good at it. I like it, but I'd be good at. You could put me in McDonald's, and I'd be good at flipping burgers. You could put me on a paper route. I'd be good at throwing paper to the front door. Like, I could do anything, and that's one of the things that I always tell people is like, when you do find your passion, you have to find it within yourself to not lose the confidence that maybe you had in a different perspective of where you were confident, because it really comes down to you. People tell you what to do, but your ethic is what drives your what you do on a daily basis. So, I approached my mom and I said, listen, I want to leave my job. I want to be in music full time. I don't make music. I was a creator back in the day. You got to read the book for that. And then, I started to realize that if I just put my time and my effort and everything that I learned, over here and put it into like just this specific, lane, I could be successful. And I had to define what that success was, and take those small successes and add them up to get to, the different levels on the ladder. Yeah. So, that's in a nutshell. I left my job cold turkey. It took me about 3 or 4 years to really become profitable. And, I learned a lot in those 4 years, and it's helped me continue to be, self-employed and entrepreneurial for the last 16 since then.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I always address as well to people that I work with in my field. I work with artists, becoming artists, etc. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So the fact that you said it took you 4 years, I think that's still pretty fast. There is no time. There is no time on when you're going to make it or when you're going to get your stable income, so to speak. And then success is also defined by what you think success is. Success is not necessarily making millions. Success is not necessarily being able to buy big houses or have #1 hit. So you have to find it in yourself what success is in order to reach your goals. And so yeah, people, this person has been doing it, and he didn't do it overnight either. But the way you break it down in the little steps is really awesome. How did you get to, I'm going to go through some points because I know in an hour, I probably need to talk to you 5 hours to get everything.
Right.
How did you get to working with producers?
Okay, I used to do a lot of artist showcases back in the day, and I helped an artist by the name of Chrisette Michelle get a deal with Def Jam. So my showcases became like the talk of the town. Anybody who wanted to find anybody new, talent-wise, they would come through my show. I mean, I've had Diddy, Dallas Austin, Teddy Riley. They just showed up. And then there was an artist in my showcase, and their manager was really impressed with how organized the show was. This person was also very professional. They'd give me like a sign-off sheet at the end of the night asking like how many people were there, like, what do we do in bar sales, just so they had like some sort of documentation to show that these people were involved with that. And I thought that was really dope because nobody ever did that before. So about maybe a year into us having a professional relationship, he had asked me, so do you ever think about doing this for like producers? And at the time I was doing so much and I was still kind of new to trying to managing it all. I was like, Not really, but I said if I did, I'd never want it to be like just a beat battle. You know, like that's just,
Yeah.
to me it's fun to watch, but there's really no like what's the end goal there? Like to
Right.
make a
What's coming out
beat
of that?
faster than somebody else? Yeah, like if we're gonna do it, it's got to be educational. It's got to be about preparedness to get these guys and girls ready when they go into sessions or meetings or whatever. So we decided to meet at Cat's Deli. We both gave each other like the same exact paper, like of what our notes were, so we kind of knew it was real. We scheduled our first show. We had like Buck Wild, Easy Mo B, Lenny S, all judging our first show based off our relationships. And this little club called the Remote Lounge on the Lower East Side, where you only fit about 120 people, we had 430 people crammed in, like dying for this. So we knew there was some sort of demand for it. And little by little, we went from doing one show a month in New York to eventually doing over 100 shows a year in 36 states as of 2018. So we traveled quite a bit, helped a lot of producers get to the next level, and we just decided that it was something we felt we could really, help people with, but also build a niche market around, or a niche business around this market, because nobody was really paying attention to the creator 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now everybody seems like they are, but we've done it for a long time, and it's been evident.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one of the things that attracted me also after reading the book, because I've always been a fan of producers. I've always rooted for producers. I've interviewed a lot of producers. So funny thing is that when I saw you mentioning Drawzilla, I was like, oh, I know him from back in the day. And, that's like all in Focus and all of them. So that was really, really funny, because I've always had a thing for producers, because without the producers, there is no music. Back in the day, they focused too much on the artist only, just like the DJ was kind of like in the shadows. Of course, things have changed now, and producers are their own artists at this point. I just want to say, somebody was talking about Katz's. Funny story, I ate my first pastrami sandwich in Katz's. Prince Paul took me there. I never ate pastrami anywhere else anymore, because that was the standard.
Big shout to Prince Paul. I actually had the opportunity to interview him last year. He's one of my favorites,
awesome.
Man.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Also very underrated. Okay, going from producers to, what I want to say is that you approached it from a business mind. Like you said, not the beat battles only because, hey, it's fun and everybody gets together and we get to hear some dope stuff. But then what?
Right.
Everything that you do, I feel, is well thought. I said this to Amadeus as well. It's crazy, but everything you seem to do, it's very well thought with an end goal. Like, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's not only fun. What is it going to do for me and for these people? Right. I think that's very important for anyone. If you start something, if you start a business or whatever, that you know your steps. Going back to the fact that you said a lot of people came through, you were able to set up these showcases based off of your relationships. You talk about it in the book as well. Relationships are very, very important. Can you give some insight and some knowledge and some information about how important relationships and network have been to you, and what your advice is in this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something I live and die by, really. There's really no way to teach somebody how to network. Networking is really based on comfort level.
Yeah.
It's based on confidence even sometimes. Like, a lot of creators always say to me, well, I'm not really like a talkative person. Like, I don't really know how to approach people. But then there's those people that'll walk up to you and be like, yo, what's up? I'm the dopest producer, and you can call so-and-so, and I got a record with so-and-so coming out in like 2030, and yada, yada, yada. And, there's a balance there. There has to be an understanding that whenever you network with somebody, the hope is to have an additional conversation, and then have an additional conversation, and then have it. So it's not like I got to tell you everything about me in that 30 seconds that I have. You should have a really quick 15-second, elevator pitch. Hey, what's up? My name is Jay Hatch, co-founder of Mogul Status. I work with a lot of producers. I'd love to send you some music. What's your best email?
Right.
Bing. And then off the next convo, and based on how things change, or progress, you continue that type of approach. Now, when you just talk from your perspective, you forget about the us factor. Like, why does the other person even need to pay attention to you? I've built so many amazing relationships and have so many amazing stories to tell from how, Focus asked me to manage him, and I'm like, you want me to manage you, bro? Like, you're a Grammy-winning producer. What are you talking about?
Right.
But then also realizing that I've done some great things myself, and not to take anything away from myself when thinking about somebody of his stature approaching me. Like, you know what? I deserve it. I deserve to be in that
Yeah.
conversation. The one thing that we don't talk a lot about when it comes to relationships is really positioning. Like, to position yourself in relationships strategically based on what you may need in the long run for your, business, your
Right.
success. And it's really about being strategic at one point, but then tactical in another. So just knowing the different ways and just being genuine. The one thing I'd love to tell everybody is every day now, really, I used to be every Monday, but every day, the first thing I do before I start my day is I do at least a 15-person audit. I text 15 random people on my phone. Hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? How you feeling? Are you being safe? What you working on? Just really, and it's added up to, better conversations. Oh, hey, Hatch, you know what? I know you work with this writer. I need hooks for Rick Ross. Can you send me a pack? Yeah, I got you. I will start them today. Like, it keeps people in the know, because as we know with this type of, environment, like, people want things fast. They want them quick, and the minute you leave, somebody else takes your space.
Yeah.
And if they take your space, chances are they probably forgot about you, unless you have that great of a relationship.
Yeah.
So I would say just be humble, be grateful for everybody you meet. Everybody's on the same playing field right now.
Yeah.
Nobody can go out and tour as an artist. Nobody can go out and do walkthroughs and make a bag that way. Now everybody's on here. This little thing that we're on right now, figure it out.
Yeah.
You can figure it out. You can really find yourself in a forward-thinking mindset going forward, regardless of what business you're ever going to go in. You just got to figure it out.
Definitely. And what you say about positioning yourself strategically, it's very interesting, because when I set up this talk, I wasn't even thinking about the benefits for me. There was no, other than me just being busy and having something to do. I didn't think of all the positive side effects that could come out of what I'm doing. And it has been just incredible. Not necessarily, oh, I get to do business with everyone, but the relationships I've built just in these past 3-4 months have been amazing. Like, even you reaching out to me, I'm like, I read this guy's book. I didn't think I was going to meet you or talk to you, at least not consciously. And so again, when people reach out to me, when Amadeus reached out to me, I'm looking at his whole resume. I'm like, why would he want to be on my little series? But then, like you said, hey, you know what? I've done a lot. I deserve this. I'm great.
Absolutely.
And not in a way where I feel like I'm all that, but yeah, I kind of have a resume as well. So, and I often forget that.
Part of it is too, like, when I saw your page, I saw how professional and how your presentation was great too. Like, your graphics, everything's colorful, everything's positive. Like, whether you have 1,000 followers or 1,000,000 followers, to me, it doesn't make a difference, because it's really about one person. One person hears something that puts something into play that might be able to change the world. And that's where, artists get it messed up, because there used to be a point where, I don't want to perform. There's only 10 people out there. But yeah, one of those people might be the one. You don't know it. Like, why put yourself in that position or that person to not find great talent? It might change everybody's life. You never know. So,
I wholeheartedly agree. And thank you for saying that, because that is definitely the vibe that I want to give off, positively, and especially in this time. For me, it's the same thing. I don't care if you have like 2 followers or 2,000 or 2 million. If you have a story to share, and I find you to have something interesting that people can benefit from, then I'm going to have you as a guest. And I vet that myself. I had people offer me money to put somebody on here. That's not, I don't, no, I can't.
Yeah, it's not about that.
I don't have anything to do with that person, and I don't know what you do and who you are, and I'm not here. This is not a promotional show. Yes, I'm promoting the book because I love the book, but that's not what we're here for. We're promoting your knowledge and your information about this business that people need in order to further themselves in their careers, or even outside of the music industry, anything that you say that everybody has been saying is applicable to life. Like, you know, to create a better life for yourself, to create better relationships, to get to where you want to be, whether that's in the music industry or somewhere else.
Right.
It's all about passion, to me at least. But I'm happy that I came off positive. Professionalism. When you were talking about, you know, talking to people, I've talked about this a lot as well. I have an article on my website about it. If you approach people, be professional. Because in this quick social media society, people are like, yo, check out my music, or hey, such and such. I don't really have time for that. I don't have time for you researching who you are if you're approaching me. What are your experiences with that? Because I can imagine you get stuff every day thrown at you.
Man, I've got so many, and I wish I like screenshotted some of these like DMs and stuff that people send me, but I'll tell you one interesting story. So, you know, I was managing Focus, and we were in LA, and it was during the time the Compton album came out, the movie, everything. So, you know, I'm in town with those guys. You know, they're all doing, you know, press and stuff. So I'm running around with everybody, and then we ended up going to the studio late at night. It was like 2, 3 in the morning after the party or whatever, and I walk in first. Focus goes to the bathroom, and then I'm walking into the main lounge, and I hear somebody behind me, but I didn't know who was there. So just turned around, and there's Dr. Dre, like just me and him in a dark lounge, no lights on, you know. So I'm like, "Oh, what up, man?" And he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm Jay Hatch from My Standard." And he was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" He's like, "Oh, we put the lights on." Put the lights on. We're talking. Focus comes out of the bathroom, introduces us, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, everybody started showing up, like, you know, Exhibit, Deep Battle Cat, like all these major people started showing up. So everybody's having fun, having some drinks. So as we're about to leave, it's like almost 4 in the morning, and I wanted to take a picture with Dr. Dre, but I wasn't going to ask.
Right,
you know,
right.
I've been in that situation. But Focus knew. Focus was like, "Hey, Dre, you mind if we go take a picture?" And I was like, "Oh, he must have been reading my mind." So we took the picture. You know, it's like 4 in the morning. We're all like, I'm like this in the picture, like, you know, super like out of it. And then the next day I just made a post, actually probably when I got back to the Airbnb, just made a post about, like, you know, if there was ever like a ladder level that you get to that you feel like you could say, like, I got somewhere. I was like, you know, every creator's dream would be to meet Dr. Dre. And I feel like, you know, this is a big accomplishment, but I wasn't saying it in a way where I was bragging, nor was I trying to like do it for anything more than
you were just happy. Yeah.
Right, I was just excited.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like 6 in the morning. So over in New York, it's like 7, 8 a.m., 9 a.m. All of a sudden, the DMs start flooding in. This one kid, I'll never forget, I think it was the first or second DM I got. It was, "Yo, I need to meet Dr. Dre." No, I'm sorry. Yo, you need to take me to Dr. Dre. That's what it was. Yo, you need to take me to Dr. Dre. I just looked at it for like a good 10 minutes, and I just cut my phone off and went to bed. Next day, got up, saw it again. I didn't answer him back for almost a month.
Right.
Because I just didn't know what to say to him. Like, you know, I knew what I wanted to say, but I didn't know, like, how to get it across without me just it all being all capitals and me screaming at the kid.
Right.
So, you know, eventually I ended up hitting the back saying, "Bro, like, that's not how it's done." Like, you know, I've been shooting in the gym for 20+ years. Like all the money I've spent on flights and, you know, and maybe this is a learning experience for some of the attendees. Like, you know, when somebody like myself, you know, when you've been in the game for as long as I have, people forget that, you know, it took a lot to get here. It took a lot of us spending our money, flying across the country, sacrificing our health, time with family, holidays, you know, buying clothes, drinks, studio time, dinner, all to build these relationships.
Yeah.
You know, so got to the point where, you know, there's a very thin line between like helping somebody and like schooling somebody. You know, like I can help you if I see you invest in yourself, and maybe you've invested with me and we've done a lot of great things together. Yeah, like I'm here, let's work. But if you just coming straight out for like some sort of handout, or you just think because I have relationships and we have a friendship, or you know me, that I'm just going to share my wealth of relationships with you, it's not going to happen. There's a value in that. Just like there's a value in my time. Just like there's a value in everything I do, because I can't get that back. You know what I mean? So I think people just sometimes they don't really look at it from that perspective. It's just like, I need something, he's got something, I need to get to him, he needs to give it to me, and that's that. It doesn't work like that.
That's a really good point. I had a talk with Shauna. She said the same thing. Like everybody can't come up with you. Everybody can't sit at the table with you. Just because you've been friends doesn't mean you can just automatically come along on this hard working train. And I've had the same thing. I had a conversation the other day where somebody was telling me, you don't drop names. I'm like, I don't drop names because if in the past, if I mentioned a name, I got cassettes back then still thrown at me like, hey, can you show this to such and such? And can you take my CD to such and such? I'm not here for that.
Right.
And so I'm not about to throw names unless it comes up in a conversation or it has a purpose. But yeah, and it's just, you know, I want a guest list. Hey, can you put me at this person's coming and you know them? Can you put me on the list? It's always that same thing where I'm like, I can't just use the relationships that I've built just to give you a free ride. That's not how it works.
It's always an interesting conversation when you have that with somebody because and some people don't understand it. Like I've had people like straight out want to fight because they don't like. They were like, "What do you? I don't understand. Like you know this person. Why not take my music to this person?" Partially, one because it's whack, and I'm not gonna stamp my name on something that's whack.
Right.
You know, and number two, like you don't. There's no reason that I should, unless I'm like unless I love the music and I'm vested in it. And I'm like, listen, I really believe in this. You know, I just don't need that energy in my life. Like I don't need somebody to expect me to do something. Like my mom doesn't even expect me to do something. Why would I listen to you? You know, that's a whole other fault.
This one time, sorry, you saying?
I said we could do a call just on those kind of conversations. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, man, I could write a book on that actually. I had a real quick. I had the chance to go to Kendrick Lamar when he came out here, and because one of my friends knows him personally, so he put me on, and I'm like, yay, I'm excited. I get to meet Kendrick Lamar. And then it was like I had a +1. I'm like, oh Lord, I'm gonna get into a fight if I don't take this person, if I don't take that person. So I ended up taking my artists on some it's work stuff, and so nobody can hate me for not taking them or feeling like I'm not their friend.
Right.
That's also like a thing that I had to really think about, but it all worked out. At this point, Mogul Status Media. Your own initiative, it's still very new. You just told us. I thought it was already like longer. I saw that you had a talk with Shroom yesterday, one of the Amsterdam homies. Awesome. Any producer or artist that is tuned in or will be watching this later, what do they have to do in order to reach you or work with you? What type of criteria do you have?
Well, it just depends on what level. You know, I do a lot for creators. So, you know, I have a management faction. I have, you know, these online events. I consult. You know, I do the creative sessions, which is a song camp per se. So there's a lot of different, you know, levels that a producer or a songwriter can connect with me on. It just depends on where they may be in their career or what they want to learn per se. You know, and I like to keep people involved. So for me, it's like, okay, if you've done, okay, so I've consulted you on a couple things. You know, now I'll let you know when I have my next song camp or my next online event, or maybe this person's been around for the last 5-6 years and I've seen them get closer and closer to their goals, and I'll say, hey, listen, why don't you send me some music? I gotta send some music in for said artist. Like, let's see if these, you know, bite or anybody says anything or we get any feedback. And if that works, maybe there's a different relationship to get started from doing that too, you know? So it really just depends. I only manage people that I am truly in love with. You know, to me, it's like a relationship. Like, I'm not an easy committer because it takes a lot for me to realize that I want to be with this one person for a long period of time. You know, not that there's a lot of boxes to check, but there's energy, there's a vibe, there's, you know, this person's got to meet me halfway, if not more. And I've had a lot of experiences where I've been the one giving more and more, and that's relationships as well as business. So I just feel like there's got to be this, like, wow factor, like, oh, wow, this is really, like, we really are we want to do this, so let's move forward. So You know, my client now, Eli Groves, is somebody who won one of my songwriter events 3 years ago. And at the time, I was managing Focus. I was managing another songwriter named Cadence. And we were so busy between the Compton stuff, between negotiating publishing deals, that even though he was so talented and I wanted to work with him, it wasn't fair to him nor myself to try to get in a relationship where maybe I couldn't be as fully committed as I would like to have been.
Right.
So when those relationships, you know, went into their next phase and I decided to approach Eli, he was actually working with another manager. So I had said, like, I want to be involved somehow. Like, how can we work this out? So I approached the manager, we worked out a situation, and now we both manage him. But I believe in him so much. Yeah. And I've been working with all major producers like Cool and Dre and S1 and Super Mario and Shroom and all these guys. So it's just a matter of time now before we get, you know, one that leads to the next. But producers can always reach out. I answer my DMs. I don't care if you're Jay-Z or Joe Schmo. Like, I treat everybody with the same level of respect. Yeah. So that's how I want to be treated. So that's how I treat everybody. So if you DM me, and if you have any questions or you want some direction or you want to get involved in something that I do, you know, please do. And the reason why Mogul Status seems like it's been around for a while is because that's been my moniker on my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for years. Because I knew it was going to lead to something new. I always made myself the brand, no matter who I ever worked with, no matter what brand I ever started. It was always about Jay Hatch, first and foremost. Yeah. Because when you work for a company, when you leave the company, it's like, oh, you're so-and-so at BadBoy. Yeah. When you leave there, now you're just so-and-so. I'm Jay Hatch. Will know who I am no matter where I am. So I just felt like that was something I had to accomplish early on, and it only was right to do the Mogul Status Media and then Mogul Status Clothing. I just took the vowels out, and so.
And that's interesting because when I was in that predicament about the company that I had set up, and I had to kind of leave it. Everybody around me was like, well, you pay. Everybody works with pay. Everybody knows you. And I had my website already with everything that I do. So I was like, yeah, you know what? It's not a big deal. Like, everybody knows me. And so people work with me, not the company. So that was kind of like a plus because I've been kind of branding myself as well. I see the time ticking away. We do have some questions from people, so let me just go to some of the questions.
Sure.
Okay, one producer says, thanks for this. I am Dose D. He's a producer from, I want to say, North Carolina. Then there's some actual questions. In your book, you talked about how you would approach a person after everyone else. Okay, but then it doesn't show. Oh, after everyone else bombarded them with their. Okay, it cuts off. So
I see it here. I see it here. It says in your book you talk about how you would approach a person after everyone else bombarded them with their tapes. How have you ever missed an opportunity by waiting? I don't know if I've ever missed an opportunity, but I always feel like you can only what Jordan says, that you only miss the shots you don't take. Like, I've taken shots when I felt like I should, and if I ever waited, it was only because I knew at some point I would cross paths with this person again, and I knew that this wouldn't be the only time. Sometimes when it's the only time, whether it's somebody who lives outside of the country or state, or you don't have access to that person, you try to make more of an effort. But I always wanted to be perceived as somebody more than just like, there's hungry and there's thirsty.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be thirsty. I want to be hungry. So when people look at me and they see what I do, I want them to realize that no matter whether I'm 20 just starting out or 60 been in the game for how many years, I'm going to give the same level of hunger because, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you're never like accomplished. You don't feel accomplished. Like, I wrote a book. That's great. What's next? Oh yeah, I got a place with Diddy. What's next? I got a place with Ariana Grande. What's next? Like, we have this like thing inside of us that just makes us want to do more, and we never feel accomplished. However, those smaller successes in between are what really allow us to continue, and they also allow us to stay humble, because you got to remember where your beginning was. You got to remember what it took to get there. Yeah. And if you forget those things, then the end result makes no difference whether you get there or not anymore, because now you're doing it for a whole different reason.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you say it, because the person that asked the question, my friend Daryl, He's accomplished a lot, and I tell him to celebrate his successes as well, because he's still hungry to get to where he wants to be. But you always have to celebrate your own. So I have to do it myself as well. I don't do it enough either. So we have to remind ourselves of that, and just, you know, make sure that you realize everything that you've done and not only look at what you still want to do.
Exactly.
There was another question from him. How many times in your career do you feel like you had to start over with your brand, especially since you have, then it cuts off again.
Especially since you have so much knowledge and experience. Again, because I never felt so attached to any of my brands where it was like, this defines me, it was always about me. So I never felt like I had to start over. This time was a little bit different because of the pandemic. So like I had to literally figure out, okay, I'm not doing any more live events. I don't have any more sponsors where, you know, 75% of my income maybe came from. Now I'm like, what do I do now? But I have almost 25,000 followers. I have an email list of 100,000 plus people. You know, I have a book. So there's things that I have, there's skill sets that I have, there's accessibility I have, there's friendships that I have, relationships that I have that I've utilized to help continue building this brand. And this is all just like a transformation of what I was doing before, you know, figuring out how to excel to a different level, but then allowing my brand to grow as the person or the presentation of who brings you this. So nothing's really changed. It's just now it's Mogul Status. And people always thought it was Mogul Status anyway.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
so I don't really lose out.
And
but
you're still Jay Hatch.
Yes, still Jay Hatch. But if you're trying to brand yourself from the ground up, the few things you should know before you start really just simply is make sure you have an original name. Make sure that you have all your business in play, your URL, your socials. Make sure everything is exceptionally cohesive. Because these days you have to give people something they could consume when there's so much other stuff going on. You know, and for me, my biggest issue prior was like, what does iStandard do? All right, well, we do producer event. Okay, so what does Jay Hatch do? Oh, I know what Jay Hatch does, because they know what we like. They can see it now in space, as opposed to before it was like, wow, you guys are, and also with social media, like having to tell that story with so much going on, you know, and then the algorithms change and people not really can't figure it out. So I feel like I'm more streamlined now into one place. You could also reach me directly if you have questions. I remember people. Relationships are super important to me, and that's how you should be when you start a new brand. You have to have the capacity to manage all of that. It's not easy at all, but you can do it.
No, and you know, that's right, because I'm doing the same thing. I've been doing the same thing. Well, you've seen the website. Sometimes people don't know what I do because I do more things than one. Like I'm, you know, a journalist or entertainment journalist, however you want to say it. And then I do the artist consultancy and management. And people are often like, so what do you exactly do? Well, I define myself by the multiple things that I do. I'm not just one thing. And because it's all tied in, I do acknowledge through these conversations with different industry people, which I can apply to, you know, helping artists because of the experience that I have, and I've worked in this industry so long. But it was tough for me to put that all in one place on my website, but I'm happy that I managed to do it so clearly.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I want to say before we're running out of time is, or one of the things I want to ask is, what is for you your one of or your biggest failure in this industry, in this business, in your career that has brought you your biggest lesson?
That's a great question. I don't know if I would call it a failure, only because it's more of me believing in somebody enough to maybe allow things to happen for a certain amount of time without addressing them. You know, I'm a real, like, just a chill dude. Like, you know, my energy is based on your energy. Like, I walk into the room, if I feel the energy, everybody's dancing and hanging out, I'm dancing and hanging out. If everybody's chill, you know, generally I'm the person that walks in the room and I try to set the pace just because that's me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was managing somebody who, you know, I got them to a great place. They were really, like, like started from the bottom, you know, and then I got them to a point where they had, you know, an amazing pub deal, great things going on, but then all of a sudden that started to dissipate because of how they managed that. And you know, I'm a patience person when it comes to like the long game.
Yeah.
But trying to explain that to somebody, you know, when they're like, you know, having money issues or not knowing exactly what their next step is going to be, and I'm like, listen, it's going to happen. Continue doing what you're doing, and I'm telling you, this is going to happen for you. And then before that time actually happened, or at least what was going to happen, didn't happen about a couple weeks after we ended our career or our relationship.
Yeah.
My lesson learned was like, you know, either I have to explain it even better, or I have to make this part of my day-to-day operation where I incorporate even more praise, you know, education, energy, to let somebody know that, you know, I'm there and I'm going to be there, and I'm not going to let them go through this by themselves, nor am I going to allow them to fail, because we've gotten to a place already where failure is no longer an option, nor is it on the menu. You know, it's not even on the menu. Yeah. So I learned a lesson from it. I think they did too, and their career now is through the roof. But, you know, I always felt like I didn't get the due diligence that I deserved from this person, acknowledging the fact that I did all this. I know I did. Everybody around me knows I did. You know, but I just always feel like this. I want to have this one last conversation and be like, are you telling me that you don't think because I was here that this happened? Or this happened? Yeah.
Listen, man, I can't even tell you how many of the same situations I have been in and I have had. Like everything you're talking about, everything that you're addressing is something that I have had experience, and obviously being in this game for almost 20 years as well. And this last thing is definitely, again, also not a failure on my side, but definitely a lesson learned, because this exact same thing happened to me. So I definitely feel you on that one. And as long as we get the lessons out of it and we know what we gained from the work that we did, because obviously I gained a lot from working for that person. So I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
but also it helps us get better too. Like, you know, as we learn those things, even for us being in the game so long and having a success on certain levels, like we have to also continue to learn, you know, because we haven't do it all. We haven't, you know, always been, you know, at this level, because we had to learn to get higher and higher the totem pole. So, you know, once the further you get up the ladder, the thinner the air gets. You know what I mean? So you have to really have a good strong hold on that ladder and make sure you can continue. And by learning more and more, that gives us more energy, more breath. And I always try to learn as much as I can. You know, I learn things on all these calls, these conversations, and I'm you know, blessed to be able to continue to still do what I love every day. You know.
Yeah. That's the most important thing to me. That's my success, being able to do what I love every day and not doing something I don't want to do. And I will do anything in my power not to have to go back to that, which puts me in a position that I never have to, because I work hard. What is one of the things that people, if you have questions, we're about to run out of time, so put your question in there if you still want to have something answered. What is the best advice that you can give to people who want to start or trying to be somebody in this industry, not necessarily an artist or a producer, but, you know, a business person or entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. First, I think you need to study, you know, what it is that you want to do. You know, look at people prior to you, see what they've done. You know, don't emulate completely, but get some ideas. And that goes down to producers trying to find a sound. That goes down to, like, you know, companies trying to start a business. Like, you need to look around at your competition and see what they've done, what they've done successfully, what they've failed at, and then find your place within that equation, you know, and move forward. You know, from a business perspective, obviously make sure that all your business paperwork's done, whether you file as an LLC or, you know, S corp or a sole proprietorship. Just do something so you can legally do business, because at some point down the line, things might like really heat up quick, and you don't ever want to have to go back and then now have to change your name because it wasn't legally, you know, registered or whatever. Also, make sure your socials are set up properly. You know, in terms of your URL. You know, if you say you're you know, Jason Beats, make sure everything's at Jason Beats, just so everything down to your email. So it's just very easy to remember. Nobody will ever have to question what it is. They'll know in a search, easy search. And then also too, just surround yourself with great people. Nobody ever in the history of ever has done anything ever by themselves.
By themselves, yes.
You know, and that's a lesson you'll learn along the way too, because you'll come to a point where, you know, maybe you need something done that just you can't do. So whether you find people that can do it and pay them, or team up with people that maybe see a similar vision or know they can get to a vision through yours, then I think that's, you know, there's a lesson and a value in that too. And then on top of that, just always be a good person and be a good business person.
Yeah.
You know, don't ever allow yourself to succumb to the cutthroat industry perceptions, because that really just comes down to who you are individually, you know, and how you allow yourself to do business. That's why no matter where I am in my career, I don't care who I am. I don't care if I live behind a 100-foot wall and I want nobody to come into my house or my space. I'm always going to be somebody accessible. That's what's allowed me to be who I am today. So I never want to turn my back on my consumers, you know, customers, potential relations, potential stars. That's why I still listen to everybody's music. That's why I still try to give feedback to everyone, because I'm still trying to find the next big thing too. We all are. It's just a matter of who's got the patience and the organizational skills to do so. So those are just some of the things. But you know, just be able to communicate what it is you're trying to get across and be original. And I guarantee you'll get to some level of success. But it's your job to continue, you know, going higher up that ladder.
Yeah. And then also define your own success. Don't define your success by other people's success. Make your own path, create your own goals.
Yep.
Don't imitate people's paths, because that's never gonna work. In this industry,
that's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in the last 5 years. Is I went to this conference called the Smart Conference. And it's a big, I don't know if he's a preacher or a podcast, but it's a little more religious than I'm really normally used to attending. But I went because I heard so many great things about it, and I took away this one gem. You know, they did like different seminars on like everything from parenting to life to income to relationships to everything. So had little bits and pieces. But the one thing that this woman said about, you know, every day we're scrolling through our phone, right, trying to find, you know, something, whether it be inspiration or something. But the problem is we start to love everybody else's life more than we love our own, right? We're looking at DJ Khaled and going, man, I should be in that mansion. I should have those plaques. Looking at Beyonce, looking at Kim K, looking at, you know, Ariana Grande, looking at all these people, Kanye West, whatever, whoever. And then going like, I've done a lot of great things myself. I can be great too if I just put the focus on myself and I love myself.
Yeah.
But people don't. They want to love it. They want to find like misery, or they want to find like something to sulk about within somebody else's success.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why people, you know, somebody posted something today about like, just pay attention to people, how they address you or act when you finally get to a level of success. You know, and I think that tells a lot of tales, you know, in relationships and how you do business with people and how they operate around your back and all that kind of stuff. So.
Well, that circles back to relationships. One of my favorites, I'm getting the countdown, so I'm going to be real quick. One of my favorites is don't forget the people who supported you, who helped you when you were nobody, or, you know, when you were trying to climb up. And the way you do business will also show your name in this industry. If you want to have longevity, you want people to speak good about you and not bad. So if your integrity stays intact, then you have nothing to worry about. Then success will come to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much again. I still had like 5 million other things on this list to
I mean,
ask.
we can keep it going. It's up to you. We can chime right back in. Part 2.
We could, but maybe
we'll save it for another day. It's up to you.
All right, let's do it. All right. See
All
you in
right,
a bit.
let's do it. Okay, bye.